Hello everybody, I hope you're keeping safe and well. So today I thought I'd do a little bit of a review of the sorts of sketchbooks I use or I have used. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by looking at watercolour sketchbooks, and I'm going to compare and contrast 5 different brands that I've used or still do use, and I'm going to look at them in terms of the quality of their paper and of their binding, a little bit around the features that they might have, and also something around price. And then I'm going to talk about some other sketchbooks that aren't watercolour paper, but I use them quite extensively for my mixed media work, for collage work, inks work, acrylic work. And I'm going to look in particular at the seawhite brand because that's the main one that I use, but I'm going to look at different sorts of their sketchbooks and compare and contrast them and talk a little bit about what they're useful for. So I hope you find it useful. So I'm going to start by reviewing the watercolour sketchbooks. So the first one I'm going to do is to have a look at is the Moleskine. So this is a hardback. It's got all of the particular things. It's got the strap that keeps the sketchbook together. It's got the ribbon that divides the pages. Can't find that for the moment, but it has it. And then it's got this pouch at the back. And it's a pretty durable sketchbook. I found them really useful, but I didn't use them that much at larger size. I used to use them mostly at A5 because they all come in a variety of different sizes. The thing about this one that I wasn't so keen on was that although it looks okay here, I found that oftentimes the paper almost seemed to, it's 200 GSM watercolour paper. And this is quite a cream colour actually, but I found that oftentimes that it was almost like the paper was resisting the paint, which was quite strange. I only used this version of the paper, but I understand from those people that has been sketching for years that Moleskine did change their watercolour paper. But anyway, so that's the Moleskine. The next one is again a hardback. Most of these are hardbacks because they're much more durable as a hardback, especially if you're taking them around. This is covered with linen. This is the handbook. The Moleskine's American, this one is American. And it has, again, the ribbon, as so. It has the strap over, and it also has a pouch, although it's a slightly different pouch, and that's in the back there. I really like the paper of these. Again, it's a 200 GSM weight, which is quite nice to work with. It doesn't buckle. You can hopefully see the way the paint is sitting on the paper quite nicely. I found this paper to be better for what I wanted. I found that the watercolour just seemed to sit on the surface of the paper better, and it seemed to sort of sink in and move through the paper in a really nice way. So I've always been quite fond of the handbook. Comparably priced probably to Moleskine. Maybe, you know, it depends, you know, they vary a lot in size and where you get them from and whether you can get a deal. But the watercolour paper sketchbooks are more expensive than ones that are just cartridge paper because obviously the paper is more expensive. So, but that's the handbook. And they don't just do watercolour, and most of these sketchbooks, they don't just come in watercolour paper, they also do other papers. Now this one is an interesting one. This is the Stillman and Byrne, and this is actually as you can see, it's a ring bound one. It's a hardback, which is nice. But what I found, which is really nice, is the fact that this is actually a beta. Now the Stillman and Byrne do a whole range of sketchbooks. I think there's about 7 different series, and they do different weights of paper. Two, I think, and actually this is what they call the extra heavyweight paper, suitable for all sorts of water-based media, watercolour, inks, and so on. And it's 270 GSM, so really thick. They do different sorts of paper as well. This is a cold press paper, and it's nice and white. And I think you can probably see, that's why I had it opened on that page, how nicely the paint sits on the surface and how bright it appears. The same, hopefully you can see there. So that's a really nice option. Stillman and Byrne do not just ring bound, they do hard bound and soft cover as well. They tend to be a little bit more expensive, but again, you're not comparing apples with apples here because this is a heavier weight paper than the others. This is a 270 GSM against the other two, which were both 200. Now we come to my favourite sketchbook actually, and this is a Hanamule. And Hanamule is a German make. Again, comes with a strap over. This is an A4 by the way, which is now my preferred size. And let me just tell you about the features. It does have the dividing ribbon, which you can hopefully see there, but it doesn't have a pouch in the back, but of course you can easily put a pouch in the back. I haven't done on this one, but you can do. And the paper is a 200 GSM. It's quite smooth, cold press. It's similar to Moleskine and Handbook in that respect, but I just find it a really good sketchbook, good value. The only thing missing of course is the pouch at the back, and you can easily add that. And if I flick through, hopefully you can get a sense. The paper takes the watercolour really nicely, and this drawing here was done with just watercolour paint and pencil. And what I like about it is it doesn't it's not got too much. It's quite a smooth paper. It's a cold press, so you don't get this horrible sort of the way that the pencil sits into the grooves. So that's quite nice, and it does take the paint really well. Never buckles. I found it really durable. That's one with just paint on the page. You can see that there. So it's a really good quality paper, and I find that it's a very durable book actually. So that's the Hanamule. And then I just wanted to talk about this one. This isn't one that I would particularly take around with me that much because it's quite fragile. Although it has got a hard back, it's got no straps or anything like that. But I just thought I'd just share it with you just for the actual paper really. So this is a 100% cotton 300 GSM, 140 pound weight. So what you'd typically use if you were doing watercolour painting with paper. It's not really thick, but it's quite durable. And this is a knot, so it has a bit of a tooth to it here, and you can see that. And it's ring bound, so not my favourite, because I think when you take ring bands down, they tend to get battered and bashed, and sometimes the paper comes out of the ring binding if you're taking them around a lot. But I just wanted to include that because it is a really nice paper, but I wouldn't really use it as a sketchbook I'm taking around with me day in, day out, just because it's not sort of cased in that particular way. But the paper is really nice, and as I say, that's a cotton. That's a Saunders Waterford, and I just wanted to include that really for completeness. A bit more expensive than the others. So in terms of cost, I think the Hanamule is quite well priced. I mean, on the market today, and it depends where you're buying them, but in the UK, I think I could get this for about £20, which is not bad actually. The Moleskine and the Handbook might be slightly more expensive for the same size, but there's not that much in it. And again, the Stillman and Burn, it's a thicker paper, but that might be slightly more expensive again. And the sizes are slightly different. I don't think they do an A4, but they do something close to it. So what I wanted to do now was just to mention another couple of papers that I have used. This one is a Cardi paper. It's thinner than it's not a watercolour paper, but it's got a really nice feel to it. It's quite a lot thinner, and it takes the watercolour in a different way. So this is, as I say, Cardi paper. So if you can see that, let me turn around the right way, that would help, wouldn't it? So this is just something that I've started to use recently, and I'll do some more exploration. So that's a Cardi paper, and it takes the watercolour differently, but worth having a try at. Some people that do a lot of urban sketching really like it. And then I just wanted to show you this one, which is let me get this right actually, it's a Venezia is the name of this sort of sketchbook style from Fabriano. And this isn't a watercolour paper, it's a heavyweight 200 GSM cartridge paper, but it takes the watercolour really well. And Fabriano papers are beautiful. The only problem I've had with them, I mean, this is a very chunky book. I mean, it doesn't have the strap over anything. I've tried their watercolour sketchbooks in A4, and I compared it to Hanamule. What I found was actually that the paper was great and not dissimilar to the Hanamule, again a 200 GSM, the watercolour one I'm talking about now, and this is a cartridge paper. But both this one and the watercolour paper one, I found with the Fabriano, the paper was great, but the Casing itself, when I took it around a lot, they got quite battered, and the A4 watercolour one I used actually fell apart. So I wasn't quite so impressed with the actual casing of that one, even though the paper was very good and comparable. So what I now want to do is to turn to talk to the other sketchbooks I use, and I'm going to review or share with you 3 different seawhite sketchbooks that I use. I love these for non-watercolour work, for all my mixed media work, whether I'm working with collage or inks or acrylics or gouache out and about. So there's 3 types I use. I use what's called a chunky hardback, and I'll talk about that. I use what's called a travel journal, and I'll talk about that. And then finally, the third one is I use all manner of concertina sketchbooks from seawhite, and I'll talk about those. So first up, this chunky one then. This is a 19 centimetre square, and it's got, the paper is 140 GSM. It's a nice white cartridge paper that feels actually quite thick, even though it's 140. And I mean, that's not actually a bad weight for a cartridge paper. And it doesn't have the mod cons, as I call them, because it doesn't have the strap over, so you'd have to use an elastic band if you were taking it out and about. It doesn't have a pouch at the back, although I've put one in, and it doesn't have a divider. But it's a really good quality, sort of sketchbook, very sturdy bound, and very reasonably priced, actually. I think this is actually less than, it's about £8 this one, and this is a 19 centimetre square one, so very good value. So that's the chunky, and they come in a range of sizes. Now let me talk to you about the travel ones. Now the travel ones are really nice, and this is, I've got 2. Don't worry about that cover, I've put that cover on. They come black, and it's a hardbound cover. They come with all 3 things we've been talking about: the strap over, they come with the page divider, the ribbon, which keeps your page for you, which is very handy, and they also come with the pouch at the back, which is really nice. Whatever size you use. This is 130 GSM, both of these. This one is an A4, as I said, and this is a smaller square, which is 14 centimetres square. This one is, they're very good value, actually. This one is about £7 and this one is about £10. So that's the travel journals, and I use them for, in this one you can see, I use them for all manner of mixed media. I use them for my ink work. This has got, this is acrylic, collage, watercolour, you name it, it goes in here. The pages are stuck together a little bit, but that's my kind of fault, really, not the papers. So that they work very, very well. So that's those. And then I just wanted to finish by talking to you about the concertinas. The concertinas are great. They do 3 different sizes. They do an A4, which is a massive one here. Haven't even had the courage to try that one yet, and it comes in a case, so a really nice sort of sturdy book. The only thing is that they're slightly big. The paper itself is 140 GSM cartridge paper for all of them. There's also a smaller one, which I'll talk about as well, which is what they call a pocket. So it comes in an A4, an A5 and a pocket, and they have this paper that is doubled, actually. It's doubled over, so if you can see, I don't know if you can probably see, but anyway, even if you can't see, it's double thickness, it's folded over. And lots of, sort of really sort of substantial. And the great thing about these is that you can kind of tell the story. You can use them for all sorts of media. This is a collage one. I use inks in them. I use acrylics in them. I use watercolour in them. So they're very sort of sturdy, and they have a hard cover here, and then they come with a case, and all of them are somewhat the same. And this one's got a smaller number of pages, but you can sort of see. And these are quite good value again. So you've got I think I mentioned they're 140 GSM. I think the biggest one is about £15. The middle-sized one is about £9, and then the pocket one's only about £4.50. So they're a really good quality you know, sort of sketchbook if you want to have the sort of the telling of the story and being able to open them out, which is really nice. So I think that's kind of it. So I just wanted to, you know, share with you all that I use, really, not necessarily all sketchbooks available, and hope that you found it helpful. If you have found my work this interesting, then please do subscribe to my channel. And also like the video. That would be really nice, and thanks for watching.